So a really interesting conversation we're going to have about money and relationships, your significant other, your partner. Dave Won joining me now with CEO of Budget Captain. You have such a fascinating perspective on helping folks, as a money coach, unpack their behavior, their relationship to money. And I've never heard anybody talk about it the way you do. For one, you start with the traumas of your past. But you also, we were talking the other day and you were saying, people say, they broke up because of money. And you're like, that's not the issue. It goes deeper than that. So how do you coach couples to get a better relationship with each other and money?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me here again.
Always a pleasure.
Trying to have a healthy conversation with two unhealthy people is virtually impossible. So what I like to do is I like to have each individual person dig into their money history and see why they behave the way they do. So identifying unhealthy patterns and behaviors in their own life and then seeing what the connection is from the past.
And you ask, what was the first memory you have, earliest memory of the relationship with money, tracing it back to parents' behavior or whatnot. I didn't think about that, when I even think about my relationship to money today. And then you're like, identify that and then unpack, how does it affect how you treat money as an adult? And then on top of that, when you talk about relationships, people fighting over money, you talk about setting goals, separately, and then how do you come together with those goals?
Absolutely. So once you've identified the unhealthy patterns and behaviors, you're now in a more healthier state to actually have that conversation with your significant other. And then once you're able to lay that foundation down, you can then talk about dreams and goals that you want to pursue as a couple. So my recommendation is each individual person identify 6 to 8 goals that they want to pursue individually. And then over the course of the next week, start crossing off goals that are not in their top 3 priority list. And then once each individual person has their top 3, then you could come together. That forms a top 6. So each person has buy-in. And then you talk through SMART goals, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-based. And then you narrow that 6 to 3, and then you pursue those together with micro goals in between.
Bit by bit. And I bet you'll find some blind spots, some ways you are spending money that you're like, this is not serving either of us.
Absolutely.
You talk about, too, significant traumatic event related to finances. Say your parents or your family goes through something growing up that is a shock to the system. And so some of us like PTSD, when it comes to money. Talk a little bit about that. How do you identify something that when you get triggered even?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's really important to kind of dig deep into how you behave. So if there's a unhealthy behavior that you're acting upon, it's really important to be conscious of that and go, wait, what am I trying to accomplish here, or what am I trying to protect here right before you make that move? And then that is going to be a good data point for you to use to see if there's a connection between that and something that happened in the past.
It's so interesting. I think money is such a factor in how we see our quality of life, our self-worth, our experiences we're able to have. And when you think about that, we may be sabotaging ourselves without even realizing it, and unpacking like past traumas. I think it's such a fascinating, empowering conversation. How can people find you to get in touch with you and work with you?
My email is budgetcaptain.co, and I'm very active on LinkedIn. So Dave Won is my name, and I'm active on LinkedIn. When
you see people that you are coaching, advising, when you see them start to shift their realization of how they, manage their own money, what is that like for you? I mean, you got to see people just kind of experience this newfound freedom.
Absolutely. It's really refreshing for me, and it really gives me energy to continue what I'm doing, because if you're able to take one person from one side to the other and just see their life being transformed, it makes my job just that much more worth it.
Yeah, well, and these are tangible, concrete conversations. It's actionable that we can all do. Thank you so much. Really fascinating advice.